Alright, so for starters, Worbla's KobraCast art is a thermoplastic. It was sponsored by Kai'sPlaySupplies.com, and I love this stuff. It is very unusual, but it also is incredible. So I'm gonna bring you in closer to me and show you some more stuff. For Yojimbo's breast, I'll show you this right here because it's fun. For Yojimbo's breasts, what I did is I took Worbla's KobraCast art and I wrapped it in 4-way stretch spandex. And then I adhered it to my shirt using a bit of thread and also Gorilla Glue hot glue. That Gorilla Glue hot glue is used, I think it's exclusively in high temperature hot glue guns, but I'm not sure. It is strong and it works really, really well, so be very careful. I live in a very hot climate and nothing has fallen apart that I've used that on, which is great because I usually can't use hot glue. But needless to say, there's also some thread on here for safety to ensure that it stays on. Since the 4-way gold stretch fabric that I used is Yaya Han's, it has a very, very vibrant pigment. But that didn't work so well for Yojimbo. I wanted my Yojimbo to have a very dirty, looks like I've been fighting in the middle of a Final Fantasy battle look. So in order to do that, I needed to paint it, but painting spandex that is metallic is notoriously difficult. So what I did is I took a fabric textile medium by Americana and I mixed it 1-to-1 with a high quality acrylic paint. And then what I did from here, I'll get closer here, look at these boobs, see them right there, is I painted this, just like I would paint anything else. And then I let it set for 24 hours. 24 hours is incredible. It's the key here because it needs that time to dry, and after it's dried, you need to hit it with a blow dryer or a heat gun at a distance to heat seal it. Heat sealing it then makes sure that you can officially 24 hours after that, so you have a 48-hour period before you can machine wash it. But once it's dried, then you've heat sealed it, and then you've waited another 24 hours, you can machine wash this sucker. Now you have to machine wash it on cold because it is a thermoplastic, and if you use hot water, it's just gonna lose its shape. And man, I didn't spend all those hours trying to form this around boobs so that it would have like a bra look just for it to lose its shape. That would devastate me. These are my Yojimbo pauldrons. They are incredibly smooth. They are incredibly shiny. They are so shiny that the camera keeps not focusing on them. As you can see, the inside is unfinished because I have yet to do the securing. What I'm going to do for that, I'll tell you in another video. But for right now, let's talk about the painting. What I did for this, because Worbla's KobraCast art kind of has a mesh pattern on it, it only becomes very apparent if you stretch it really far. So with Worbla's KobraCast art, like many other Worbla's arts, when you heat it, it becomes pliable. However, with KobraCast art, you can just keep stretching and it doesn't tear. There's like a medical mesh or something very similar to it inside the KobraCast art that prevents it from coming apart. So it's great, you can just keep stretching and stretching and stretching. The problem is when you do that, and that mesh texture becomes more apparent. And so there were some moments when I was making my pauldrons where I had to stretch it further. For instance, right here, I had to actually connect this and then pull up so that it had a sealed edge here. And the same thing with a few sections in here where I had to place them together and pull back to create kind of ridging and a little bit more depth. But when I did that, you have little holes that sort of appear because of the mesh. So that meant that I had to treat these pauldrons a little bit differently. What I started with was a single coat of wood glue. And after I did my coat of wood glue, and I let it dry completely, you can tell when it's completely dry when it's clear and not yellow anymore. So when it was completely clear and dry and I touched it and I was like, oh, it's dry, I then took Quick Seal, which is a silicone caulk that you use in plumbing, and I grabbed some gloves because you cannot get this on your skin, and I grabbed a mask because it can release toxic fumes, and I took a paintbrush and I brushed it onto this. So I brushed a very thin coat of Quick Seal on my entire pauldron. And I'll show this, you'll see pictures of this in the video after this, you know, in the quick tutorial after tutorial. Woo! But the great thing about that is, I should put this away so that it doesn't keep not focusing. When I used the quick seal, it took about 8 hours to dry completely, but once it was completely dry, I did one more coat of wood glue on it. You don't necessarily have to, but because quick seal is a silicone caulk, it makes it incredibly difficult to paint. So I did indeed cover it in one more coat of wood glue, and then I plasti dipped it. Plasti dip is a rubberized spray sealant that you can use to create a very uniform look for your armor as a base coat, or you could even use it as your paint. It really depends on how you want your prop or armor to look. And with this, I needed to have a very metallic sheen, so I started with black plasti dip, and then I dry brushed the metal look. I used a high metallic acrylic gold made by Folk Art, and I think I did 4 coats of gold on this, and I did really, let me get in here, I did really rough brushing to make it look like it was old armor that's been scuffed several times and buffed out. And then I also did this to create texturing on the sides for when armor gets older, it starts getting that kind of buildup of dirt. And since Yojimbo's a summon, I wanted his dirt to look very red, like I'd been stuck in some kind of weird Final Fantasy Pokeball. I don't know, but it looked really interesting that way. And it took a lot of work because I had to hand paint. And anytime you have to hand paint, it's going to be hours upon hours of layers. I could have taken a can of spray paint. You absolutely, once you've plasti dipped something, you can definitely use metallic gold spray paint and paint it on. But the problem with metallic gold spray paint is often it's difficult to paint acrylic over it because it just kind of falls away. It's so reflective and so smooth that nothing really adheres to it after you've applied it. And I needed to be able to paint on the red and some texture, so I decided to go with acrylic and go hand painting. Once I was done with hand painting, I sealed it with a plasti dip glossifier, which is a rubberized sealant that is meant to make things shine. So let's go over this step by step. Step number 1, make your pauldrons. Okay, done. One of these does not want to sit here. One of these is not like the other. Okay, step number 2. After you have made your pauldrons, seal them in wood glue and let them dry for at least 4 to 6 hours. After they have dried for 4 to 6 hours, put a very, very, very thin coat of silicone caulk on them. It works really, really, really well. Then, once that's dried, another coat of wood glue, some plasti dip, and paint how you please. Spray paint, hand paint, air, similar to the pauldrons, so it'll be very easy to tell you how I painted it. This part is the Worbla's KobraCast art. Basically from here up is Worbla's KobraCast art. This is what I was talking about with texture. It kind of looks like fabric. Let me see if I can get this to focus on it. There we go. So it's a very mesh fabric texture. And that is amazing when you need something to look like it's been wrapped with fabric. So this is untreated Worbla's KobraCast art. I stretched it around some foam and some Sintra, and then I went ahead and coated it in wood glue, just a very thin coat because I wanted the texture to stay. And then I painted it with acrylic paints. And, well, first I plasti dipped it. So, make your Worbla's KobraCast art item. Seal it in wood glue. Plasti dip it. Hand paint it or spray paint it, your choice. And then seal it with the insane glossifier by plasti dip. The end. Not putting the other one on. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to hold all this. Anyways, so now that I am surrounded by my creations, why don't I actually do the tutorial within the tutorial and show you how I painted these.